Hello, stamping friends. It's Terri Hartley at Rustic Barn Cards. I'm an independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator in Iowa. Welcome. I'm so glad you're here. Today is my second Christmas in July series, and this is the second week, and I can't wait to show you the cards that I have made. It is also my monthly card class for July, which means that I'm going to be creating 3 cards. They are all Christmas, although you could change the sentiment and use these cards for winter birthdays if you wanted to. So how I run my online card class is if you place an order with me, then you will receive the card kit, and I will send you all the cardstock, the die cut. I'll do the embossing for you. I also will send enough ribbon for you to make the cards, and then you just need to use your own stamps and your ink to create the cards. You do need to place a $35 order with me or more, and the link is in the description. It has a host code included. That way I know that you want the card class, and I will send you the card kit to make all 3 cards that we're going to make today. I will not be sending the embellishments unless you place your order is $50 or more, and I will send you a full package of the gems that we're going to use on these cards today. So again, this is my Christmas series in July. It's my second. If you missed the first, I will put the little title up at the end of this video where you can go back and watch the first video in this series, and it's a 4-part series, and today is part 2, and it's also my card class for July. So let's turn this camera down and let's start stamping. This week I'm going to use Season of Chic bundle. I'm going to use the stamp set and the dies, but of course all the die cutting will be done for you if you place an order to receive the card kit. So I'm also going to use 2 sentiments from the Very Best Occasions stamp set. So one of the cards will have a sentiment from the Season of Chic, and we are using the images from this stamp set, but I am going to be using 2 sentiments from the Very Best Occasions. And for this first card, I'm going to be using the Painted Texture Embossing folder, along with some Designer Series paper. So I'm going to be using the Regals 6x6, and you will receive striped and polka dot and hearts, and then with lines, and you will have blueberry bushel, which is what we're going to be using today, along with Cajun craze, cherry cobbler, crushed curry, garden green, gorgeous grape, old olive, pretty peacock, real red, and shaded spruce. So those are all of the colors in the Regals 6x6 pack, which we'll be using today. Again, the blueberry bushel. Okay, let me show you the card that we're going to make today. So this is the card that we're going to make with a little more sparkle and a little less stress. Let's make this Christmas the very best. So I'll lay that aside, and I will bring in the card kit like you would receive. And we're using the Blueberry Bushel card base, which is cut at 8.5 by 5.5 and scored at 4 1/4. We have our Designer Series paper, Blueberry Bushel, and this is cut at 5 1/4 by 4. And I'm going to go ahead and just adhere that right to the front of our card. And then you'll have a basic white layer that will go right inside. And if you decide that you want to stamp on the inside layer, I would do that before I put it inside the card. That way, if you make any mistake, you can just go ahead and get another layer of cardstock. Okay, I'm going to lay this aside for just a second. And you also will have your snowflakes. And then I will, in the make and takes, I will also give you a scrap of basic white. If you would prefer to stamp your snowflakes, then you can certainly do that. You also will have a layer of basic white that is already embossed and a blueberry bushel cardstock. So this basic white is 3 1/4 by 4 1/2. And then our blueberry bushel is 4 3/4 by 3 1/2. So let's go ahead and do some stamping. I'm going to go ahead and stamp on our textured embossing layer. I'm going to use Real Red. And we're going to stamp the sentiment. And we're going to stamp it over on the right because we're going to be putting our snowflakes on the left-hand side. So again, with a little more sparkle, a little less stress, I'm going to go ahead and ink this up. Make sure you get a lot of ink on your stamp. And I'm going to stamp over on the right-hand side. And since this is embossed, I'm going to hold it straight down and apply pressure and then straight up. Clean my stamp. And then I'm going to give you a little tip. You have two sides. You have, two sides of embossing. And so the one that has a little bit flatter will make your stamping a little bit easier since you're stamping on an embossed layer. Okay, I'll lay that aside and we'll bring in our blueberry bushel ink. And you can do this two ways. You can ink up your stamp. And you can, one way is, since it is photopolymer, you can just go ahead and lay that right over here. If I can get my head in the camera. And then you can just flick that off. And then there you go. So that is one way you can do it. Another way is that you can take your die cut, I want it to be this way, and you can lay it and then just press on it. So we'll see which of these gets the best image, right? And again, we'll flick that off. So it's similar, okay? And then I am going to ink this up again, and I'm going to stamp off. And then I'm going to stamp on. So again, I will give you some extra basic white if you have, if you're going to be using the same stamp set I'm using, and you would prefer to go ahead and stamp your own snowflakes and die cut them out if you have that. But if you don't, you can do it just like we're doing here. So I have 2 full strength and 2 that is not. And then I'm going to adhere our basic white on our blueberry bushel. And we'll line this up. Make sure it's as even as we can get. There we go. Maybe not. There we go. Okay. All right, now let's go ahead and pop this up on our card front. I'm going to use dimensionals. So I've added 5 dimensionals. I've already taken the backings off. We're going to bring in our card base, and we're going to go ahead and pop this up on the front of our card front. Just like that. And then we're going to go ahead and we're going to add our snowflakes. You can just kind of arrange them like you would like, and then we're going to put a dimensional on the back of each one. I do apologize if you can hear the air conditioner, but it is about 90 degrees in my upstairs craft room right now. It's very warm. So I'm going to have the air on for just a little bit. Okay, we're going to take these dimensionals off, or the backings off, and let's start with the light one. And I think I'm just going to place it about right here, and I'll overlap that right here. I don't know, we'll put that right there. And then we will stick this up about right there. Okay, then we're going to bring in our Wink of Stella. And we're going to add a little bit of sparkle to our snowflakes. And I'm going to shake up the Wink of Stella, because you always want to do that. And you have push on each side, and you just pull the cap off, first of all, like this. And then if you need to bring some ink down, you can do that. I've been using this, so I don't think that I need to. And I'm just going to go ahead and go over those lines on the snowflake to give it some sparkle. And then here where it says with a little more, I'm going to go ahead and we're going to fill in those leaves, those holly leaves, with a little sparkle. Then we're going to bring in our rhinestone basic jewels. If you want the card kit, if your order is $50 or more, I will send you a full package of the rhinestone basic jewels. And I'm just going to pick up and put one in each of the snowflakes for a little more sparkle. So here is our first card with a little more sparkle and a little less stress. Let's make this Christmas the very best. Let's make the second card. Before we do that, let's add a little bit more. Let's add a medium gem right here on our card that we made. You just can't have too much sparkle, right? There we go. Now our card is finished. Now we're ready for the second card. For our second card, we're going to be using May You Enjoy the Warmth of Family this season from the very best occasions. We're going to be using just the stamps from Season of Chic, the Snowflake, and then the scallop contour dies, and I'm going to be using this, which of course the die cutting will be done for you if you decide to place an order with me to receive the card kit. All right, here is the second card, and I'm using the ribbon, the Real Red, from the Real Red and Burlap ribbon combo. And we're going to be using the burlap on our third card. So place that aside, and then we'll be using the Real Red on this card. And in the card kit, you will receive enough Real Red ribbon to make this card. Okay, let's go ahead and bring in the pieces to make this card. We have a basic white card base, blueberry bushel card stock, and your basic white that is die cut from the contour dies. I'm going to be starting with blueberry bushel. And I'm going to be stamping tone on tone. So I'm going to be using the same color of ink as I am on the cardstock. This blueberry bushel is 5 1/4 by 4. I'm going to bring in our Snowflake. And I'm just going to ink this up. And I'm just going to randomly stamp around the card. Just thinking I had ink in my hands, but I didn't yet anyway. But I'm sure I will before it's all said and done, right? Now this will be pretty much covered up, but I'm just going to go ahead and stamp those two. I'm going to lay this aside, and I'm going to bring in our basic white that is cut out, die cut using the scallop contours. I'm going to be using Real Red, and we're going to stamp our sentiment first. May you enjoy the warmth of the family this season. I found that it's better to stamp your sentiment, and we're going to do that in the lower, kind of in the middle is our plan anyway, and hopefully it will be straight. And it's not. So don't worry, because I brought in a second one. So we'll ink our sentiment up, and then we'll practice right down here on the grid paper. And of course it's straight as can be. And there we go. Okay, now we'll add our snowflakes. Bring in our blueberry bushel, ink pad. And you could do these in full strength, but I'm going to ink these up, and then I'm going to stamp off. So I'm going to stamp off because I do not want full strength. And I'm going to go ahead and just stamp one in the corner. But making sure that I don't stamp into my sentiment. Now I'm using photopolymer, so I could most definitely grab my piercing mat to give a little more cushion. All right. So we are finished with our stamping, and now we're going to put our card together. So the first thing we're going to do is to bring in our ribbon, and you will have enough ribbon to wrap around the cardstock. Now you can either glue this, or sometimes I like just to take regular tape. And put a piece right there. Get another piece of tape, and then I want to always double check to make sure that it's straight. And then we're going to add this to our card base. That's our envelope. Let's try the card base. And then we'll just add some adhesive. And place this right on the front of our card base. So this week is all about snowflakes in July. Well, we're glad we don't have any snowflakes in July anyway. But you can be thinking about what Christmas cards you want to make now, because then you'll be ahead of the game. Now I'm going to go ahead and add dimensionals to our scalloped. And we'll pop this up on the front. Then we're going to make a bow with the ribbon. And add that to our card. And again, this is week 2 of my Christmas in July series. I'm coming to you every Tuesday in July. And I normally do come every Tuesday in July, but this month I'm bringing the 4-part series of Christmas in July. And then today is it's my week 2 of my Christmas in July, but it's also my card class. So if you would like these 3 cards that I'm making sent to you as a card kit, I will do all the embossing and the die cutting. Just place the $35 order with me. The link is in the description. I will not send any gems, but if your order is $50 or more, I will send you a package of the basic rhinestones. Okay, then we need a glue dot. I'm going to bring my take your pick tool and the glue dots. And I'm going to place that. And I think I'm going to use 2 glue dots. And then I'm going to place that right over here. And you can do some trimming of your ribbon if you think it needs that. And then I'm going to bring in our rhinestone basic jewels. And I'm going to use the large ones. And I'm just going to put 2 on this card. 1 in the middle of each of the snowflakes. Okay, what do you think? Do you like the second card? I hope you do. May you enjoy the warmth of family this season. So, quick and easy. And you want quick and easy Christmas cards when you have to make multiples, right? Okay, let's go ahead and make our 3rd card. Are you ready for our 3rd card in week 2 of our Christmas series, which is also my monthly card class for July? We are going to use just the Season of Chic stamp set, and we're going to be using the burlap ribbon from that Real Red and burlap ribbon combo, and blueberry bushel. All of the cards, have you noticed, it has a theme? We've been using the blueberry bushel cardstock and ink on all 3 cards. This time we're going to be using our Memento Tuxedo Black ink also. I'm going to be using the snowflake again, and the sentiment, you make each season of life even more beautiful. So let me show you our 3rd card that we're going to make. And we're going to be doing some paper tearing on this card. And again, you could definitely stamp a snowflake on the inside also. If you don't have the Season of Chic stamp set, you could place an order, or you can use something in your stash. All right, so again, if you decide to place an order to get this, to receive this card kit, it'll come in an envelope, all the pieces that you need for each of the cards. Now that Wink Stella that I used on that first card, that was just an option. So of course you'll have to use your own Wink Stella. It never hurts to go ahead and burnish your card base. We have a strip for our sentiment, basic white to stamp on, and then also blueberry bushel. So our card base is 8.5 by 5.5 and scored at 4 1/4. Our blueberry bushel cardstock is 5 1/4 by 4, and I'm going to add this to the front of our card base. And it looks like I do have ink. Now I have ink on my fingers. I thought eventually I would, because that just seems to be the par for the course, right, when you're stamping. Okay, let's go ahead and add this. And let me get it lined up just a little bit better. Okay, I'll lay that aside. I'm going to stamp our sentiment next. So I'm going to bring in our sentiment, "You make each season of life even more beautiful." We're going to go ahead and ink that up in our black ink. All right. Turn it around the right way. I'm going to use that grid paper kind of to line that up. And I will once again try to get my head right above so I can see. Perfect. Okay, now lay that aside. And I'm going to bring in our basic white. And this basic white is, let's see, let me look at my, it is, I think about 3 1/4 or 3 7/8. Okay, so 3 1/4 by 3 7/8. And it's going to, you want to make sure you have it the correct way when you do your stamping. And then we're going to bring in that snowflake stamp, and we're going to stamp in blueberry bushel. And again, I'm going to do some of our stamping full strength, and then I'm going to ink this up again. I'm going to stamp off. So about every other one. So that's full strength. And then I'm going to stamp off. And then I'm going to go ahead and stamp over here. And then we'll do full strength. Then we'll ink this up again and stamp off. And do full strength down here. And then we'll stamp off because I want a little bit lighter. And then we will do full strength right here. And one more, and we'll stamp off. And I think maybe just like that. Okay, let me close this for I have more inky fingers. So now I am just going to tear off the right-hand side. That will be on my card, so just tearing that off. Turning it around, and notice I kind of have my fingers right there. So I just kind of tear that off. If you want to do off a little bit more, you know, you can. And then I'm going to bring this in, and I'm going to adhere it right on my card front, right like that. I'm going to line that up. Then I'm going to bring in my silicone craft sheet, and I'm going to be bringing in the burlap ribbon, and I've already cut this, and I think it's like 5 1/2. It might be a little bit long, so we're just going to kind of line it up, and I'm going to line it up from the blueberry bushel to the blueberry bushel, and you could have it go all the way to the end of the card if you wanted to. So I'm just going to snip that off a little bit. Now on my sample card, I have it kind of in the middle, but I think I'm going to try to put the burlap ribbon a little bit lower. And then I'm going to use my Stampin' Seal Plus. And sometimes Stampin' Seal Plus and we get along, and other times we don't. There we go. Now we'll bring our, whoop. Now I have Stampin' Seal on my finger, but I think it'll be okay. We still have enough for the card. All right, now we're going to bring in our sentiment, and we're going to place that right over here. And I'm going to go ahead and bring in dimensionals, and we're going to pop that up. Now, I'm going to put the dimensionals more at the top of my sentiment, so it's sticking to the cardstock and not the ribbon. Although we might want to put one down here too. So I don't know that you need, I might have just overdone that with the dimensionals on this sentiment, but okay. And then we're just going to place this so the burlap does show, and get that straight. And then we will bring in our gems, and I'm going to just going to go ahead and add some of our rhinestone basic jewels to our snowflakes. And you could add more. And this is our third card of our Christmas in July series. This is week 2. And let me show you all of the cards that we made today. So here is our first card with a little more sparkle and a little less stress. Let's make this Christmas the very best. And then our second card, may you enjoy the warmth of family this season. And again, we use Blueberry Bushel ink or cardstock, and we use Blueberry Bushel for the first card of our Regals Designer Series paper. And then here's our last card that we made. So here are all 3 of our cards. And so here's some ideas for Christmas cards that you can get started on early. If you would like the card kit, since this is also my monthly card class, along with also my second week of my Christmas in July series, place an order, $35 order, and I will send you the cardstock cut and the die cuts and the embossing, and you have enough ribbon to make for each of these 2 cards. And if your order is 50 or more, I will also send you a package of the rhinestones. And I will be here next Tuesday on July 18th for my third part of my Christmas in July series with some more Christmas ideas. I hope you can join me. Hope you have a great week. If you haven't watched week 1, you can click on that. It should be showing now or soon on the screen. So thank you so much for taking the time out of your day to be here, and I hope you enjoyed these cards and they have inspired you. I'm Terri Hartley at Rustic Barn Cards. Have a great day. Bye for now.